All right. I get the treat, the pleasure of welcoming my Brazilian friend up to the stage, Jonatas Rogato. Jonatas, you've probably seen Jonatas behind the drums before. He plays here every other Sunday pretty much, and he's amazing. But what you don't see is the incredible dedication and hard work that Jonatas does behind the scenes. And you came here about 7 or 8 years ago?
9.
9 years ago,
yeah.
To our school of ministry. He had a radical encounter with God and was just like, I'm sold out for this place. It helps that there was a girl involved. And he's come on staff now about 5 years ago, probably. I'm making numbers out of the air here. But Jojo is probably one of the most richly integrous people I've ever met. He is one of the hardest working and the most sold out for Jesus people ever. And, I'm just delighted that I get to introduce him today.
Come on.
And that you get to experience him today. He's our youth pastor, along with Melanie, his wife. And let's give him another round of applause.
Love you, man. Come on. I am so excited to be here with you this morning. I love you guys. I love the church that I'm part of it. Like Ben was saying, I came 10 years ago actually to the School of Ministry. And it was such a beautiful opportunity for me to be here, and just learn in this church, one, about the Father's love that completely changed and just restored so many areas in my life. But two, just being a part of such a good, quality, solid church family that we get to meet every Sunday, that we get to be here. We have an absolutely amazing worship every Sunday happening. And behind the scenes, we have a beautiful team that we get to be a part of it. So it's actually such a good honor to be here with you guys this morning. So thank you so much for receiving me and welcoming me. I am so excited to share with you about my journey, which is, Mel and I, we met in the School of Ministry and we got married. And beautiful story. You can ask her later. She'll probably be very happy to tell all the story later. She basically fell in love with me, I know it's pretty hard, but what can I do, right? And little did my mom knew, I left Brazil, and those were my mom's words, okay? She's like, please don't fall in love in Canada. And sorry, Mom, I couldn't resist either. So found this beautiful girl here, and we just kind of started our journey together. But really, when we came back from Brazil, we went to Brazil for a little bit just to get married. We did our ceremony there. Beautiful outdoors, island on the beach, sweating like crazy. The worship leader going for the third song, and I'm like, no, stop, let's just get this done. Mel's makeup is kind of just dripping, and people are getting bitten like crazy mosquitoes. I mean, we're in the island, right? But anyways, it was a beautiful time, I promise. It was a beautiful time. But when we came back here, we had in our minds that we would always go back to Brazil. We had in our minds, hey Mel, we're going to come to Toronto. You're going to finish school. You're going to finish your degree. And we're going to go back to Brazil. And for 2 years, we were being part of this church. We were part of the things that the church offered, but we were not part of the church. And the thing is, we were here for 2 years, and I was doing, 2 to 3 house of prayer sets, being part of the worship team on the Sunday. Absolutely loved the vision that we had here. But we actually didn't root ourselves in the family. We didn't root ourselves in the church family. And we got to a place where we were like, okay, it seems like things are just being superficial. We don't know anyone. No one knows us. and something needs to change. And after those 2 years, we actually came to Ben and Sarah, and we had a lovely dinner, as usual. Always good food. No matter what time you go to their house, there's always good food. They are absolutely incredible, hospitable people, and absolutely phenomenal cookers. So, sorry they can't invite all of you guys. This is a privilege just for friends only. But I remember being sitting at the table, and we said these exact words, and we said, guys, we figured out that we haven't rooted ourselves here, and it's a problem. People don't know us. You guys don't know us, and we don't know anyone. We didn't allow anyone to be a part of our journey. We didn't allow anyone to be a part of our lives. So we started a process of really cultivating friendship. We started a process of cultivating family, of cultivating, relationships that are actually deep and meaningful to us, right? And I am a strong believer that we were made to be in a relationship with people. We were created to be in relationship in our community, in our families, in our church, right? God created us to have people around us. Turn to the person next to you and say, hey, God created you to be around me. So just thinking of, marrying someone who is academic and loves school and loves researching. I'm someone who I learned, to appreciate research as well. And today, as we're talking about relationship and we're talking about family, I brought a few researches that I've heard and came across and I thought was phenomenal. And just thought was a good opportunity to share with you guys. Did you know that according to a study conducted by Flinders University in Australia, after following 1,500 people for 10 years, researchers discovered that people with a large network of friends outlived their counterparts by 22%. I don't know about you, but I want to outlive you guys, right? With you or without you, I want to live a long time, right? Another really, really interesting research is, another research reported on suggesting that babies as young as 9 months old recognizes that friends tend to have similar interests. Isn't that cool? So one of the very first things that people learn is about friendship. Even before they can talk, it seems that babies still have expectations about the social world. Amanda Woodward, a psychologist professor at the University in Chicago, she says 9-month-old infants are paying attention to other people's relationships. Infants are able to watch two strangers interact and make inferences about whether those two people are likely to be friends. Isn't that pretty cool? In other words, if you're in doubt about someone is a good friend of yours, you grab your 9-month-old baby. If you don't have one, you rent it out. Or you can babysit, however you would like to do. And literally, you can call that person home. You can sit the baby there on the side, not causing too much attention. And you can just interact with the person who supposedly you're not sure that they are your friends. And then after your interaction, you look at the baby and you see their responses. Now, the only issue is that a 9-month baby is probably going to look at you and be like, or, so you won't be able to get too much information from your baby. But I think it's a fun fact. And Ben and Sarah, we will be borrowing your kids for a weekend. And we're going to be inviting some of you guys home and see where we're at after that, okay? Another really cool research says, essentially, the more attractive people in the group serve to raise the average. So to speak, they make the average faces appear more attractive overall. First of all, you're welcome. You're welcome. You guys are welcome to spend as much time as you want near me. If you want to look a little bit more attractive. We can negotiate a deal, If you're going to a party and you're not sure, you're not super confident, you can borrow me for the weekend, Trust me, people will come and talk to you. It's fact. My wife would say so, right? So basically, having beautiful people around you will make you look better. Turn to the person next to you and say, hey, do you want to look better? Hang out with me. So, you guys are too easy to make you laugh, man. Seriously, we are in the room with 60 teenagers every week. And let me tell you, if you're not funny, they ain't gonna laugh at you, But today in specific, I told them to sit here and I said, if you don't laugh, there will be consequences, right? There we go. We have a box of Krispy Kremes at the end, guys. You can pick it up in Mel's office. And I am just, I'm just kind of like making it lighter, but we were created to have people around us. We were created to live in family. We were created to have a relationship with the people around us. We were created to be rooted in our community, right? You will outlive, you will look better, you will feel better, And even in the Bible, we see so many good, relationships that they are well done. Jesus himself, God himself is a God of community. Him, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Right? Right? And then now we are made in his image. Meaning, when God created Adam, right, and we see in Genesis 2:18, God created Adam, and let's suppose Adam is me, okay? Just for the sake of you guys realizing this. Adam was perfect. He was handsome. My wife would tell you that he was hot, right? Nice, soft beard, nice fades, great style. So Adam was actually perfect. He was perfectly made with love. He was perfectly made by the will of God. But then, Genesis 2:18, it brings to our attention something that is really, really interesting, where the Lord said, it is not good for the man to be. Come on, man. The dude was perfect, as you see, but it was not good for him to be alone. In other words, it's not good for God to be alone because we are made after his image. He doesn't like being alone. He's not a God of loneliness. He's not a God of separation. He's God of people. He's God of community. He's God of, family, vulnerability. He's a God of relationship. He's a God of relationship. And across the Bible, you see great relationship like done super well. You see people like Joshua and Caleb. How amazing is that? Right? That they get to live. They were the only two people in their generation that lived to see the promised land. What? Isn't that amazing? I mean, what if you know when they went beforehand to check the promised land, you know, some of them came back. I mean, the rest of them came back saying, no, it's impossible. There are giants. We're not supposed to be in there. But then Josh and Caleb was together. And they were like, wait a second. Did you see what I saw? Yeah, I totally see what you saw. We are supposed to be in there. All right, so we're going to come back and we're going to stand for the people of God. And we're going to tell them that we are supposed to be there. That's like an amazing community. There's an amazing relationship there. And you see, you know, just going a little forward, you see Meshach, Shadrach, and Benny. Right? Those guys, like, you know, as a kid, I would read the Bible just to get by, right? As a PK, you had to read at least 3 chapters a day, right? And I would love the Old Testament, especially when the whole page was generations. I'm like, yes, no need to read that. Especially when it was the whole chapter, right? You get by really fast. But you see, the 3 of them are in the furnace. If I was there, I would probably be cracking jokes, man, because I would be terrified of being there. I'm like, dude, nobody told me we were going to the sauna today, right? Does anyone want coconut water? Because I forgot mine, you know. But how amazing it is that the 3 of them, they were, I have fun with myself sometimes. The 3 of them, they were in the furnace, and they were there to encourage each other. And it's like, no, we stand for this, and we're going to stand together. We are going to stand here together, right? And forward, you even see the relationship between David and Jonathan. What a beautiful relationship. What a beautiful friendship that is, right? And then in the New Testament, Jesus shows up, and he's just blowing us away, you know, showing us what community is all about, showing us what relationship is all about, and telling everyone that it's all about people. Telling everyone that it's all about you, it's all about you, it's all about people. He loved spending time with people. I mean, his first miracle was at a wedding, right? Isn't it amazing? When I think of that passage, I don't think Jesus just sitting by himself, you know, chilling out on the corner. I see him, you know, and all the dudes that followed him, kind of like on the corner of the party, and people were like coming and serving them. I mean, see, here's the thing. If I would walk with Jesus, I would be such a gangster. And I'll tell you why. Imagine you walk in the streets of Toronto, right? And there's 12 people behind you, right? What's up? What's up? You want to be with him? I am with him. I mean, part of my job here is to manage events. You know, I'm a manager of the events department here at the church. And we get to plan the conferences. We get to plan other ministries that come here and use their facility, which is amazing. And it's such a privilege to host all the ministries here. Some of you were here 2 weekends ago with last weekend. And absolutely amazing. But I remember that last year we had Benny Hinn here, and he rolls up with like 3 bodyguards, man. And the dudes are scary. Like, you're talking about, like, they are massive, right? They're huge. And there's this guy that he's the one that is in Benny's room. He's the one that he's like, you are going to be right behind him, right? And he's massive. Like, my 2 legs are probably like his arm. Like, he is massive. I had a great time with them. Very sweet people, but you don't mess around with them. And I remember that John Arnott was in the speaker's lounge, and then and I was passing by, and he was like, "Hey, Jonatas," when he remembered my name, when he didn't call me David. "Hey, Jonatas, can you just run and meet Carol outside? She has my bag with her, you know?" And I'm like, yeah, sure. I went, grabbed his bag, brought it in. And I walked in, you know, and Benny's guy is just in the door, and he's just there. And he's like, yeah? And I'm like, oh, I'm just getting something to John Arnott. He's like, oh, okay. So I walk in, give John his bag. And then the dude, the bodyguard, was like right behind me. Like, I literally turned around, and he's right behind me. And he says, okay, you can leave now. More like, okay, you can leave now. And I mean, when a guy of that size tells you to leave, you should leave, right? And I had about like a split second where I was like, oh my gosh, I have to leave. But then, man, let me tell you, my Brazilian just pops up, and I was like, dude, this is my home. I'm with John A. That's how like you get all, you know, when you start like shortening people's name, you get all gangster. The secret for you. So it was like, no, dude, I'm with John A. And I stand right across from him, and I'm like, that's right. You're in my hometown, baby. You come here, you call me next time before you come in. John Arnott had no idea this was happening. He's like chatting with Benny, you know, and just like talking away. I don't care, man, you know? And it felt so good. But imagine with Jesus, that would be amazing. It would be so good to roll in the streets of Jerusalem with him. I would love that. It would be amazing. Anyways, so Jesus, enough of that. Jesus showed us the community. He showed us a new way of community. He showed us that he cared about people like nobody else. He wanted to sit on the table with you know, the tax collectors. He wanted to have dinner with people. He wanted to have encounters face to face. I mean, he went out of his way to meet with the woman at the well. He went out of his way, and he knew that she was going to be there. He loved face-to-face interactions. He loved just seeing people eye in the eye and just, you know, encountering them and expressing, you know, who he was and letting his love, his life just fill them up in that encounter, right? And Jesus was sneaky, man. Even when he wasn't trying to teach us a lesson, he was teaching us a lesson. If you have your Bibles with you today, let's open to Matthew 26. Matthew 26:36. So this is a passage, you know, this is one of Jesus' last days on earth. And basically, Jesus was struggling. He was distressed, the Bible says. And he shows us in this passage something amazing, phenomenal about community. So Matthew 26:36, where he starts saying, then Jesus went with his disciples to a place called Gethsemane. And he said to them, sit here while I go over there and pray. He took Peter and the 2 sons of Zebedee along with him, and he began to be sorrowful and troubled. Verse 38. Then he said to them, my soul is overwhelmed with his sorrow to the point of death. Stay here and keep watch with me. Going a little farther, he fell with his face to the ground and prayed, "My Father, if it is possible, may this cup be taken away from me." And we can stop there. Jesus, he illustrates in such a beautiful way what vulnerability and community should look like in this passage. Let me get a few volunteers here. Zach, can you get up here? David, come on in. Come onto the stage. Jonathan, come on in. Let's give a hand to these guys. Come on. They're about to look really nice, really handsome right now. Oh, wait. You see? That's right. You're welcome. You're welcome. So Jesus is on a Gethsemane. And this is a very vulnerable moment, okay? This is a place where he is showing what is actually happening inside of him. So he goes to the Gethsemane, to the mountain. You can stay here. Jonathan, come here for a second, please. Right here. Yes, thank you. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. They don't know what I'm doing, so just bear with them. Okay, so they get up there, and Jesus is basically showing us when you go through phases and seasons in your life, this is what you should do. He brings his community up there. He brings them up there, okay? And he's like, I'm not doing well, and I want you guys to be a part of this moment with me. Then he grabs Peter, James, and John. Peter, James, and John, and he walks a little farther, and then he shares a little bit more of what's happening in his heart with them. And he's like, hey, I'm actually feeling a lot of trouble. Like, right now, I can't handle. And I want you guys to be here. Would you stay here and watch with me? Then he goes a little farther, and he connects with who? The Father, man. That's JC right here. He's enjoying because he's looking really good next to me. All right, so here we see like perfectly the three stages. I call the three levels of community. I just called that today just to give an official name. So 3 levels of community right here. You bring your community up with you. Something is happening in your life, okay? You bring your community up with you. And you're like, guys, I need you to be next to me. I need you to be here. Then he goes a little farther. He brings Peter and the other 2, John and James, who were part of the community. They are not random people. They are not people who he just met in the street. He's part of the community. The 3 of them have walked with him. And then he shares a little bit more and say, I can't take this. I can't take this. Please watch. And he goes to the Father and say, Father, if possible, take it away from me. Right? He's not. See, we can have community. We can't have just a piece of community. We can't have just a level of community, right? If we do community very well, and let's say we have barbecues, we welcome people home, we have people that come to our home, we will cook for them, we will go watch a movie, we will go for dinner, we will go, play FIFA. I love playing FIFA, by the way. It's absolutely amazing. God created football, and that is my way of like fulfilling my dream of playing soccer is through the video game. Anyways, so you can do this very well. You can do this very well, but not allowing, you can kind of keep these guys in the dark and not allowing them to be a part of a deeper place in your heart. Or you can do this very well and not those 2 and be like, you can just open up to random people who you don't have accountability with, but it's people that don't know you. It's people that have no idea who you are, and it's people who is not connected with the Father. It's people that is not going to direct you to the Father. Are you guys hearing me? Come on. It's people that you're going to vent, and they are not going to direct you to the Father. Either they know who you are, or you can do this very well. You can know the Father. You can have a beautiful relationship with the Father. But you don't know what community is, because you don't know what is being vulnerable to people, and you don't know what is opening up and bringing people in your journey. And I'll tell you what is wrong with that. God created you to be in community. If He didn't create you to be in community, He would have not made Eve. He could have just hung out with Himself. God and Adam could just be the two of them. Couldn't? Right? But what is God telling us? God is telling us, no, I want you to have people with you. I want you to have people to get through the journey with you. God knew either way, Eve was there or Eve is completely out of the picture, Adam would have gone and fall into temptation and eating the apple. But God says, hey, you are alone and I'll give you someone that can walk through it with you, someone that looks like you, someone that can be there on the floor, on the ground, on the day-to-day with you through temptation. That's a good word, man. Someone hashtag that. In other words, you know, when I was 18 years old, before I came to the School of Ministry, I had an absolutely phenomenal season with the Lord. Absolutely great. I was passionate about God. I was going for God. You know, I've worked full-time jobs since I was 15 years old, and I would do night school. That's something that is normal in Brazil. You know, I would try to convince my dad. I'm like, Dad, I'm so in love with God. I'm so in love with Jesus. Please, let me quit my job. Let me quit my job so I can spend more time with God. Let me quit my job so I can be more with God. You know, and my parents, they are very well-rounded, solid people when it comes to ministry. They're like, you don't do ministry without people, and you don't do ministry and people without God. They wanted, my dad, he wanted me to be in the middle of the people. He wanted me to not set up a bubble around me. He wanted me to grow in the midst of the people. He wanted me to smell like the people. He wanted me to have that experience. Right? And right before the School of Ministry, I had a great season where I would just pray. It was right before I had quit my job to prepare for the School of Ministry. And I would pray all day. I would read books. I would read the Bible. It was a very intentional time with God in that season for me. But guess what? It got to a point where I hit a ceiling. Where it was, hey man, I know God and I've been vulnerable to God. But it seems like God is challenging me or something else. And I didn't know. I didn't know it was to have relationship with people. Now, 10 years later, I know. But we are created to have relationship with the Father. We are created to have our community and be vulnerable with our community. And we are created to live with people. We are created to live with people, right? And I know sometimes we focus so much in the presence, and it's good. It's really good. I love it. I love our mission that says that we may walk in God's love and then give it away to Toronto and the world. This is who we are. This is who we are. It's not what happened. It's not what happened in 1994. It's not what's going to happen. We are a church that we preach the Father's love. Sorry, we live the Father's love like nobody else on earth. That's who we are, right? And then sometimes we get so caught up and we're like, God, I want more of you. I want more of you. I want more of you. Jesus, I want more of you. And God is carefully saying, man, I'm giving all I am, but you're gonna find out more about me through people. He's pushing you. We are saying, God, it's all about you. It's all about you. But God is saying, no, it's all about you. It's all about you. It's all about you. It is all about you. God wants us to live together. God wants us to do family together. God doesn't want us to just come to a Sunday morning and see God and feel God and touch God. And then during the week, we are absolutely isolating ourselves from everything else. He wants us to do life with other people. Come on, man. Thanks, guys. Thank you. Now, Peter is someone who really catches my attention. Because him, out of all the other disciples, he was close to Jesus. But he was someone who Jesus kind of rebuked the most, wasn't he? And I've heard people saying, oh, Peter was the worst. Like he had to do more stuff in his heart than the others. He was the unhealed one. Other people say, oh no, Jesus was just, picking on Peter to teach us a lesson. But I don't think so. Do you know what I think? I think Peter was like, man, I got this Jesus with me, and I'm gonna be with him. I want him to challenge me. I want to invite him into this journey with me. And I will be a rock, a foundation. And that's when Jesus looked at Peter and he was like, I see your destiny. The church is going to be founded in you. Peter, he paved the way for us. That was his destiny. Isn't that amazing? But he was the one that Jesus, Jesus would like shake him, look him in the eye, and just challenge him so many times. Let's look, if you guys have your Bibles, let's look on Matthew 14:25. You guys have no idea how excited I was to share this with you. Come on, man. I'm someone who I'm really excited to live the fullness of God, of what God created us to be. Our youth, they hear this every week. I keep saying, I'm like, I want you guys to live the fullness of what God designed you to be. I want you to be absolutely yourself. I look them in the eye and I say, I'm proud of you. I'm proud of who you've become. I look them in the eye and I say, you are beautiful. You are beautiful and you're worthy. I spend time giving them the vision and to let them know how God sees them. So Matthew 14:25. Shortly before dawn, Jesus went out to them, walking on the lake, which, by the way, come on, Jesus, really? Showing up in the middle of the lake at night? That's pretty scary, man. All right, shortly before dawn, Jesus went to them, walking on the lake. When the disciples saw him walking on the lake, they were terrified. It's a ghost, they said, and cried out in fear. But Jesus immediately said to them, Take courage, because it is I. Take courage because it is I. Don't be afraid. Verse 28. Lord, if it's you, Peter said, tell me to come to you on the water. Now let's stop there for a second. The way I see this is that Peter was inviting Jesus to challenge him in his beliefs and what was natural to him. Peter was literally like, I want you to challenge me on the things that I think is right. I want you to take me out there and I want to come and meet you. So Jesus said, come. Then Peter got down out of the boat, walked on the water, and came towards Jesus. But when he saw the wind, he was afraid and beginning to sink and cried out, Lord, save me. And immediately Jesus reached out his hands and caught him. And he said, you of little faith, why did you doubt? I want you to repeat this after me. If I'm in trouble, Jesus will reach out to me. Now, Peter was a guy who he exposed himself just like that. He wanted to be challenged by God. He wanted to go on the journey with God. And then we see in different passages, we see, Peter saying, challenging Jesus and saying, hey, how many times should I forgive? And Jesus is like, 77 times 7. And there's other places where it's like, Peter was like, challenging Jesus, like, why are you talking about death, Jesus? And Jesus is like, behind me, Satan. This is something that I have to do it. Like, come on. Jesus, like, he didn't hold back with Peter. He was creating a man. He was creating someone with a character of a rock. Someone that could handle, someone that could be, handle the church. He could be the one that would pave the way for us. He was working in Peter's character. And we all know of the story when Jesus predicts that Peter was going to deny him. And he went out like, Peter, you are going to deny me 3 times before the morning. And he was like, no, not me. I will die with you. I will die next to you if I have to. And then what happens? Peter denies. But Jesus wasn't so worried about the things that Peter was doing. Jesus, he wanted to call out the things in Peter so he could work it out with Peter. And we all know that, after Jesus was crucified, Peter went back to being a fisherman. And Jesus was like, wait, do you love me? Do you love me? Come. This is not who you are. Come, Peter. Come and let's find your destiny together. Let's do this together. I've spoken to you. I've challenged you. I've called you out on things. This is not who you are. And we are supposed to live in community. We are supposed to live as a family. We are supposed to be in a relationship. And it's highly, highly important to have people in our lives that can look in our eyes and challenge us. People that can stare us in the eyes and say, hey, buddy, come here for a second. This is not good. This is not good. Mel and I, when we started working with the youth, which we absolutely love them, they're sitting here today. Let's give a hand to these guys. Come on. These are my people. They look good. Not because of me. I look good because of them. Did someone say, aw? So we are supposed to have people in our lives, man, who call us out. When Mel and I, we started working in the youth, that was one of the very first things that we wanted to establish. It was a team that was okay with vulnerability. There was a team that it was prepared for us to challenge them because we wanted to raise a generation who knows what it is to walk in vulnerability, what it is to walk in transparency, what it is to be absolutely impacted by the way God created them to be. Right? Now, and we go for it. We bug our leaders and we're like, we meet with them and it's like, how's life? How are you doing? What about this? How is it going? And the only reason we're able to do this is because we had people in our lives. We opened up for people to walk in our lives and say, let's work on this. I live for this. I love sitting down. This week, John, Patricia, myself, and Mel, we sat down and we looked each other in the eyes. It's like, are we okay? I love that. I love that. Now, I didn't used to. I was a guy who I struggled with, a feeling of not belonging, a feeling of rejection. And I could not sit in front of someone and just talk and just open up and just being vulnerable. I couldn't. So God got me in a journey to work through those things. And what it is was a few years back, I had a very bad, unfortunate interaction with a friend of mine. It was an interaction where he was hurt, I was hurt, and he absolutely shook my world. He absolutely shook the core of who I was. And the way it was set up, it was, God is so good. It was set up in the way that I could not run away. It was set up in the way that I had to stay and deal with it. Right? Because how many of you know that when you have a problem, you just run away? That's your first instinct, right? You're like, well, I don't have to see you. I'm going this way. Things are not working out. And we actually don't go back and we deal with it. And just making a story short, we went through this process and oh my goodness, we invited Ben and Sarah to be part of this journey with us. It was 6 months from the incident, and we were going to bed, and Mel looked at me and it was like, I just need to know, how much longer are you gonna go without dealing with? I was destroying myself on the inside, and I was affecting my relationship with her and with the community around me. And when your wife says something that is true and you just don't want to tell her that she's right? I'm like, I'm too tired right now. And I just roll out of the bed and I'm like, come on, Jojo. Come on, man. How much longer am I going to do this? So we called Ben and Sarah and we're like, guys, I need you to be in my life, which is such a privilege to be sharing the stage with you guys today, because this is what I'm talking about. I'm talking about doing life with people. I'm talking about sharing the good moments, sharing the bad moments, being challenged by each other. It's amazing. They know stuff about me that nobody else do, which is good. I invite them into this journey with me. And here's the thing. I had this glass wall in my life, and I'm like, I'm gonna keep all my feelings of rejection here, of not belonging here, and I'm gonna stay here with a pretty face and just smile to people. And I'm like, on this side, it's just the good stuff. It's just joy, it's just happiness, it's just all the good stuff. And like, let's keep all that feeling of rejection on that side, on the wall. So pretend this is a wall. Okay. So pretend this is a wall. And it was basically like, I can see all my stuff that I don't like about it. And here's all I want is joy. All I want is to be perfect. All I want is to smile at people and life is good. Hey man, just chill. That's my thing. Just chill, everybody. Come on. But the thing is, with this whole situation, just shook everything in me. And I never realized that I had a wall in my life separating me from my feelings, separating me from the areas in my heart that I actually had to work with. And the problem is, the side effect of me isolating myself from rejection, from not belonging, from, feeling that I wasn't worthy, is that I also put it there joy. I also put it there life. I also put there all the chances I had to live the fullness of God, what God created me to be. I actually put it there because it's just a side effect. You can't just barrier around the things that you don't like. You're gonna also lock it up, the things that is also good. And that was keeping me away from being myself. That was keeping me away from living the fullness of what and who I was designed to be. Now, I didn't know that I had this wall until I invited someone in my life, someone that could speak life into me, that could look me in the eye and say the things that I don't want to hear. And here's the thing, beautiful Saturday afternoon, we called Ben and Sarah and said, hey, can we stop by? And basically we sat in the backyard and we're talking about life and just doing different things. Until Sarah looked me in the eye and she said, I don't know who I get every time I come to you. Every time I come to have an interaction with you, I don't know if I'm going to get the open, happy, joyful Jonatas or the one that is with the walls right in front of him, not allowing us to be a part of it. Of course, by that time, I'm just crying, weeping like a baby. And everything inside of me is shaking. Everything inside of me is like, this is uncomfortable. This is so uncomfortable. But it was good. And then, of course, she carried on saying, and I know it must be really hard to be somebody else that you're not. See, man, we need people in our lives. We need people in our lives. Not just to celebrate the good stuff, but we need people in our lives to look us in the eye and say, this is not you. This is not who God created you to be. People who can call us out. People who can help us. People who can, give us a shock, and be like, come on out. This is not okay. We need that in our lives. It doesn't get easy. We can stand up, church, please. It doesn't get any easy. But let me tell you, it's worth it. It's worth it to have people in your life. It's worth it for you to practice community the way God designed you to practice community. It's worth to live a life of vulnerability, to live a life where we have people in our journeys, where we invite people to the most difficult times in our lives. It is worth it. It is worth it. And what I want you to ask yourselves, we're not going to ask for this ministry time. I don't want you guys to come to the front because I think God wants to deal with you where you are. You are in family, you are sitting next to your friends, you're sitting next to your community, and that's where God wants to deal with you. So I want you to close your eyes. And I want you to think, first of all, do I know how to have fun with people? Do I know how to live community? Do I know how to enjoy people? Not just on a Sunday morning, but during the week. Do I have people over in my house that they can see the way I do things, that they can see me behind the scenes? I want you to ask yourself, do I have people in my life that I'm investing myself into? Do I have the relationships around me? Am I investing in them? And God is calling you out. And this is very uncomfortable, but God is calling you out in a place where you can be in community and you can live the fullness of who you are. Second question I want you to ask yourself is, would I be okay if I have someone in my life that would call things out on me? Would I be okay if I have someone in my life that know my stuff, the things that I don't share to anyone? Would I be okay with that? Holy Spirit, I ask that you come. Come meet us here. Come and meet us in this place, Father, that we are here today. And Father, I know that you have designed us to live in community. I know that you have designed us. And this is the only way. Jesus, you showed ourselves that this is the way that we are supposed to live life. It's with people. So Father, first of all, I ask that you give us a heart for people. Give us compassion. Give us patience. That we can endure through relationships. That we can endure through relationships to get to a place where it's comfortable to be vulnerable, where it's comfortable to share our hearts. And Father, I ask, just like me, just like I had a wall, but I had no idea I did. And I was affecting the community around me, and my friends wanted to know who I really was. My wife wanted to know who I really was. And Father, I ask that if there's anyone in this place that has kept their emotions, aside, that has kept their emotions locked in a box, Father, I ask you that you come and you highlight those things in our lives. Bring awareness of who we are. Bring awareness of how we've been dealing with things in our lives. And now, I would like you to, with the person next to you, either groups of 2 or 3, whoever you're with here, I want you guys to pray for each other. I want you guys to start. Community starts by cheering the other person on. Community starts by moving together, by being together, by doing life together. I never call anything out in people's lives unless I have hung out with them 3 times. Have we sat down for a dinner? Have we had fun? No, I won't call anything out in you. It's all about relationship. That's how God created us to be. So I want you guys to just pray for each other. And whatever that is, if you want to pray that God give you a community, if you want to pray that God helps you to find your people, you will find your people, you will find your destiny. And we're going to finish like that, just praying for each other. Thank you so much. God bless all of you.